Alright, let's talk UFC 167, St-Pierre versus Hendricks. Let's start off with the main event. Okay, this is a very interesting matchup to call. When you look at St-Pierre over the last 6 years, he's really been in trouble just twice in his entire second welterweight championship reign. Obviously, you had the Matt Serra fight, and obviously there's a lot of parallels between Matt Serra and Johnny Hendricks in terms of their fighting style. And there was the fight against Carlos Condit a couple of years back where you had the head kick heard around the world. So when you look at GSP, the only structural weakness that we've seen in his game plan so far is that, yes, he is very vulnerable to strikes to the head, in particular, his right side. Now, what makes this upcoming title fight so intriguing is obviously Johnny Hendricks has one of the most dangerous left hooks in mixed martial arts today, if not the single most dangerous. He's the new H-bomb. So we've seen him, take down John Fitch, Martin Campman. He took some nasty shots from Carlos Condit. He's a tough dude. He's hard to bring down. And GSP himself is unlikely to knock out Johnny Hendricks. And if Johnny Hendricks wins this fight, it's probably going to be by knockout. Now, when you look at GSP's training and what he's done in the past, he is a fighter who is very prone to using the exact same offensive strategy against every opponent, in particular those that are dangerous strikers. We saw him do it against Nick Diaz, saw him do it against Carlos Condit, saw him do it against Josh Koscheck. These dudes have knocked out people before. They can knock out GSP, but they didn't because GSP has the jab. And the jab is really sort of unique because he's not really using it as an offensive weapon, even though he can. He did a lot of damage to Josh Koscheck in that one fight. But more or less, he's using it as a defensive mechanism to kind of keep them at a distance so his opponents can't get in and get an inside shot or set up a takedown. Not that takedowns have been proven to be successful against GSP anyway, but it's very unique in that advantage he has there because it's not only an offensive weapon, but it's a defensive weapon. And we all know he sets up the jab, then later rounds, takedown, takedown, takedown. This is something he's been doing for 5 years straight and has been effective 100% of the time. No one has come close to finding out how to neutralize that, what the opposite strategy is. We have yet to see a fighter do to GSP what Alexander Gustafsson did to John Jones. No one has figured him out. They haven't gone in there and used a different strategy and made GSP look human, or at least like a fighter that has weaknesses. So based on what we know about both these fighters, here's what I think is going to happen. Right now, GSP, he's a Team Jackson. They're training him day and night. He's doing everything on his right side to protect that. Everything he's doing, riding right-handed, driving right-handed, sipping cups right-handed. Everything they can possibly do to keep his right guard up and stable and ready to block that left is going to come out of nowhere because that's how Johnny Hendricks does it, right? You don't expect it. It's very fast. He does it sometimes underhanded. It's very hard to predict. That makes him very dangerous. So that camp, they've been spending months kind of rewiring GSP's brain to kind of prepare for that, to keep that left side looking open, just have his right side of his body just well trained and just ready to do whatever defensive measures he needs to do. So I think a really interesting variable for this fight could be Johnny Hendricks totally eschewing the whole left hook strategy and going for the right side. I mean, I doubt GSP's really been planning for that, but I think Hendricks kind of knows what his strengths are. He's a good wrestler. We saw him against Carlos Condit, but at the end of the day, I don't think he's anywhere near being as great a wrestler as GSP. And there is a considerable reach disadvantage in this fight, which favors GSP extraordinarily. And when you look at GSP's defensive jabbing, same against Johnny Hendricks, the more you look at this fight, the more one-sided it appears. Now, do I think Johnny Hendricks can win this fight? I think he absolutely can. And if he drops GSP, I would not be surprised. I've kind of gone on record saying I'm not a huge fan of GSP. I think he's a pretty boring fighter, but I respect him because he's so dedicated. He's a perfectionist. He's a guy that goes in there and he trains. That's his life. He does it, 10 hours a day. I mean, he's not, one of these part-time fighters like BJ Penn. He just go back to his mansion. He's a guy that takes it seriously. And I think because of that and that athleticism and that dedication, it's going to be hard for a guy like Johnny Hendricks to go in there and throw him off his game plan. And I think the one fight which kind of puts this bout in favor of GSP for me the clincher was the Hendricks-Rick Story fight from a couple of years back. And I think that might pretty much be how this fight ends up playing out between GSP and Hendricks. In that fight, Rick Story pretty much held his own against Johnny Hendricks first round. Then second round, takedown city, and you saw Hendricks get frustrated. Frustrated because he knows he can't do too much from the bottom. He was definitely being out-wrestled, and when he's out-wrestled and he's neutralized and that standing game is taken away from him, he becomes a very defenseless fighter, or at least a fighter that does not have a really powerful offense like he would standing. So just using what we know about GSP and his fighting techniques and Johnny Hendricks and their past opponents and the way they've done battle before, I think this fight's going to play out like this. The first round is going to be very, very slow. It's going to be very methodical. I don't think there's going to be much in the way of offense. I think you're going to see GSP set up the jab early, and you're going to see Hendricks circling, trying to get inside. And he'll get close, but he won't throw the left hook yet. He's going to wait, see what he can do, see if he can kind of pressure GSP against the cage, but I think GSP is going to end up kind of pushing him towards the center of the cage, and he'll end up outpointing him in the first round. Second round, I think we're going to start seeing more of the same, except we're going to see Hendricks kind of get a little bit more aggressive. He might even go for a solid left hook at some point, but I think GSP is going to keep his guard, he's going to keep him standing, and he's also going to win this round on points. Third round, I think, is where things are going to change. I think Hendricks is going to get very frustrated, and he's going to pull the cord, and that's when he's going to start bombing for the left hook. And I think when he does that, he's going to be unsuccessful, he's going to get frustrated, and that's when GSP takes him down. And I think from there on out, it's GSP's fight all the way. Hendricks is going to keep getting neutralized. He's going to gas. GSP is going to easily win the third round. He's going to do some more takedowns, completely neutralize Hendricks' offense with the jab, and keep taking him down in the fourth round and the fifth round. Is Johnny Hendricks the most dangerous opponent GSP has fought? I think in theory he is, because that left hook is so unpredictable. It's so hard to prepare against. But at the same time, I saw what Hendricks did against Josh Koscheck. I saw what Hendricks did against Rick Story. And even that fight against Carlos Condit, where he looked good, but I'm telling you, Hendricks, he's not going to take down GSP. He's not going to out-GSP in any regard. I think the jab's going to be GSP's best defensive mechanism here. And I think at the end of the day, this is going to be your typical GSP fight, with GSP winning in typical GSP fashion. I've got St-Pierre actually easily retaining his title, unanimous decision. Okay, undercard, we got Rashad Evans against Chael Sonnen. Sonnen really impressed me in this fight against Mauricio Hua. Rashad Evans coming off the loss to Little Nog in February. Oh yeah, and he also beat Dan Henderson. Okay, I almost forgot about that one. Evans, he's a solid wrestler, but Sonnen is definitely better in terms of, I'm going to say, well, both ground and striking, actually. Evans, he got the cool knockout over Chuck Liddell, but I think he's not the same fighter he was back then. Sonnen as a light heavyweight has really surprised me. I think he's going to go in there and kind of keep it neutralized for a while. He's going to take Evans off his game plan. If Little Nog can do that, I'm pretty sure Sonnen can quite easily. And I'm actually going to give this fight to Sonnen. I think he's going to get a late third round submission after just out-wrestling Evans for the first two rounds. Give it Evans going to lose, so Sonnen round 3 submission. Rory McDonald against Robbie Lawler. This is going to be a very intriguing mishmash of styles. Robbie Lawler, of course, we know he just swings for the fences. Rory McDonald, an incredibly impressive technical fighter. I think he's probably the one opponent in the welterweight division right now I think has the best chance of dethroning GSP, but obviously, they're part of the same team, so that's not going to happen anytime soon. McDonald had that really awful fight against Carlos Condit. No, wait, it was Jake Ellenberger earlier this year, but McDonald still looked pretty dominant. Lawler, he's definitely a punchy kind of guy. He's going to go for the knockout, but I think McDonald's a little bit too technical for that. He's faster, smarter, a better wrestler. I think overall he's just a better athletic specimen than Lawler in every category. I think McDonald bounces back and dominates Lawler, and he gets a third round technical knockout over the challenger. Josh Koscheck against Tyrone Woodley, another interesting matchup. Koscheck, I think his best days are behind him. Tyrone Woodley, he is a really talented fighter, but he's still kind of green. He's still learning the ropes. I think he's going to make mistakes in this fight, But at the end of the day, I still think he's going to do enough with the stand game to kind of outpoint Koscheck. And I actually think Woodley makes a really good resurgence in the second round and actually knocks out Koscheck. So, not a good evening for the veterans. Tim Elliott against Alo Bagnatonov, or Bagtanov. It's hard to pronounce these Russian names. We don't think, anyway, the only thing you really know about Alo Bagnatonov is he's basically a flyweight Fedor. He's a dude that's like into Sambo, he's in pancration, he's in like 20 different martial arts, and he's a bad dude. Tim Elliott, he's a good fighter, but I like this Bagnatonov guy. He's really interesting. I think he's probably the one guy the UFC has right now that can probably be built up as a foil to Demetrius Johnson. We need a good, evil Russian heel in the UFC. What is an MMA general? We're missing those. So I think Bagnatonov wins this one, round 1, KO. So he makes himself famous, as they're saying in Young Guns. Okay, and I'm just going to do a quick rundown of the Fox Sports matches. Donald Cerrone against Evan Dunham. I'm going to go with Cerrone by unanimous decision. Ed Herman against Thales Lites. I'm going to go with Lites by unanimous decision. Brian Ebersol against Rick Story. I think Ebersol wins by unanimous decision. And lastly, I'm going to take Eric Perez, second round TKO over Edwin Figueroa. So there we go. Should be a very entertaining night of fights. If things go out well, it might actually be the card of the year, but who knows? It could be awful. That's MMA for you in a nutshell. All right, see you at the cage.